Our highest commendation and gratitude to Senate Secretary Renato Bantug Jr. for his dedicated service to the Senate of the Philippines, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, consideration of PS Resolution 262 is in order.
May I be recognized to sponsor the resolution, Mr. President?
You may sponsor the measure,
Mr. President.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, my dear colleagues. Mr. President, my dear colleagues, Secretary Ray Bantug Jr. began his career at the Senate of the Philippines in 1995 as the staff of Senator Franklin M. Drilon, becoming the latter's Chief of Staff and most trusted confidant upon his election as Senate President in the 16th Congress. Secretary Bantug, known as R&B to the Secretariat, concurrently served in the 17th Congress as Chief of Staff of then Senate Minority Leader Franklin Drilon and as Executive Director for Legislation, expertly balancing and excelling in two distinct and equally important roles with his trademark brand of professionalism. His appointment as Senate Secretary, which was my choice, Mr. President, in my time in the 19th Congress, though unexpected even by himself, was deeply deserved, earned through years of consistent and quiet excellence and affirmed by clear-eyed judgment and wisdom of the Senate President who selected him. That happened to be me pala. Secretary Bantug has devoted half of his life to the service of the Senate, distinguished by a rare institutional memory and mastery of Senate rules and procedures, expertise which seeks neither audience nor applause, yet has proven indispensable to the work of legislation. He exemplifies a profound sense of accountability in public service, consistently assuming responsibility in moments of difficulty and taking on the weight of institutional challenges with quiet resolve, providing a safe and steady anchor to both the leadership of the Secretariat during some of the most challenging periods of the recent Senate history, always ensuring that the Senate processes are grounded in rules, order, constitutional discipline, thus helping preserve the institution's credibility amidst public scrutiny. His brilliance is not performative but exacting, fully appreciated only by those fortunate enough to work closely with him and to discern on the nuances of his work and words. For even when questions were complex and solutions were elusive, his answers possessed a clarity rendered the difficult intelligible and the contentious manageable. Mr. President, while he was working as the Secretary, during my time as the Senate President, he was a very humble man. He never wanted to take credit. He didn't even want to be in the limelight when he needed to be as Secretary of the Senate. He led with trust rather than pressure, always by example, seldom imposing deadlines, confident with the ability to deliver of those under his supervision, and remaining ever ready to step in when necessary. Not out of impatience, but from a clear understanding of the work required and a determination to see it properly done. He served as Secretary under 3 Senate presidents, but with equal zeal and dedication. He served under myself, Senator Zubiri, and Senate President Chis Escudero, and Senate President Vicente Soto. This is born not of loyalty that shifts, but of one that endures for the institution that he loves, and out of gratitude for the immense trust reposed in him by the Senate leaders and members who retained this council. He understands that the office of the Secretary is never about prominence or personal acclaim, but about stewardship, ensuring continuity, safeguarding institutional integrity, and allowing the Senate to work and proceed with dignity and rigor through every tide and season. His journey, and closing his journey, Mr. President, stands as a testament to the perseverance and humility, rising from every adversity to become one of the most trusted custodians of Senate procedure, practice, and tradition, embodying resilience and service beyond self, demonstrating that character and excellence are forged not in ease, but in deliberate choice, the deliberate choice to always serve with integrity, competence, and discipline. Saludo po ako sa iyo, Secretary. You deserve our sincerest appreciation and commendation in this chamber for your loyalty to the institution and generosity in sharing his experience and expertise. Now, Mr. President, once gratitudes our Senate Secretary Ray Bantug for his service. Mabuhay po. May we recognize Mr.
Secretary
President.
Villanueva.
Talks about giving honor to whom honor is due, Mr. President. And so please allow me to just give a very short manifestation on our dear Secretary Bantug. I would like to put into the records of this August chamber that I would like to join all the members of this chamber and all Senate employees in expressing our deepest gratitude and profound appreciation to our beloved Secretary, Renato Bantug Jr., for his long, faithful, and exemplary service to this institution. For nearly 3 decades, Secretary Bantug has devoted his professional life to strengthening the legislative process and advancing the work of this chamber. Prior to his election as Secretary of the Senate in July 2022, parang kailan lang yun na Sec Bantug, he served in different crucial roles, including ED for legislation, acting Senate legal counsel, the chief of staff of our former Senate President Frank Drilon, etc. Mr. President, during my time as the majority leader of this chamber, my office and this representation worked closely with Secretary Bantug, and I can honestly say that I personally witnessed firsthand his exemptional command of Senate rules, procedure, and institutional practice. In fact, Mr. President, in moments when the legislative agenda was demanding and the plenary calendar unforgiving, his steady leadership in the Secretariat ensured that the work of this August chamber proceeded with order, with efficiency, and fairness, Mr. President. Ang maayos po, Ginoong Pangulo, na takbo ng ating mga sesyon ay hindi lamang talaga dahil po bunga ng mga desisyon ng mga mambabatas. Ito po ay kundi dahil na rin sa masusing paghahanda at tahimik na paggabay ng Secretariat's Office sa pamumuno po ni Secretary Bantug. And Secretary, it comes from the bottom of my heart. Maraming salamat. Gusto kong sabihin, corny pa rin ang jokes mo. At sa mga panahon na, but seriously speaking, sa mga panahon na ang Senado ay humaharap sa marami o mahahalagang deliberasyon at sensitibong usapin, napatunayan po natin na ang kanyang payo ni Secretary Bantug ay palaging hinuhubog ng batas, ng presidents, at higit sa lahat ng malasakit sa institusyon na ito. Tunay pong Ginoong Pangulo, siya ay isang ehemplo ng paniniwalang ang paglilingkod sa bayan ay isang sagradong pananagutan. Mr. President, I'm thus reminded of the words Galatians in the book of Galatians chapter 6 verse 9, which reflect the importance and dignity of such faithful service. Ang sabi po doon, and I quote, "And let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due time we will reap if we do not give up." Indeed, Secretary Bantug's steadfast commitment exemplifies this particular scripture in the Bible. For through consistent perseverance in doing good, he has helped nurture a Senate that serves with integrity and purpose. Sec RNB, maraming salamat. Thank you for a job well done and service faithfully rendered. Maraming salamat at naway patuloy ka pang pagpalain ng ating Panginoong Diyos. Maraming salamat, Ginoong Pangulo. God bless us all.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, we'd like to also recognize Senator Sherwin Gatchalian to co-sponsor
Senator
the...
Sherwin Gatchalian is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, allow me to personally thank Secretary Ray Bantug. Maraming salamat, Ray, sa lahat ng tulong mo sa akin. At hingi na rin ako ng pasensya kung nagte-text ako ng Saturday, Sunday, weekends, holidays. Pag nagte-text ako ng 6 a.m., 11 p.m., pasensya na. Kayo ni Mavic, madalas kong dinidisturbo kung merong mga questions na hindi ko masagot under the rules or legal questions. In fact, sa sobrang paborito ko kayo, gumawa tayo ng group na tayong tatlo lang ang members na wala ng ibang senador or si Senate President di rin members para kayo na lang ang guguluhin ko. But Ray, I would like to express my appreciation na sa maraming mga questions sa isip ko at kahit anong oras kitang iniistorbo, lagi mo akong sinasagot kaagad. In fact, kung hindi masagot, binabalikan mo ako with precise answers, especially on legal matters and also on matters under the rules. At na-appreciate ko yung candor mo, yung candidness mo pag talagang yung topic natin ay complicated at kailangan pa ng further research. I'll never forget your advice on nung fina-file natin yung Malampaya case. I think that was one of the more complex events that I have undertaken, and I appreciate your advice on how to move forward with that. And na-appreciate ko rin yung mga advice mo tungkol sa impeachment. Of course, I remember asking you about those things, many things. And I appreciated that you gave me precise answers and also honest answers. So with that, I wish you all the best on your next endeavor. Ewan ko kung bakit ka magre-retire, batang-bata ka pa. No? But I wish you all the best, and maraming salamat sa iyong serbisyo. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. Our deepest gratitude to Secretary Bantog for his dedicated service. May we, Mr. Majority Leader, make all the members...
Let's make all members of the Senate, of course,
Yes.
as co-authors and co-sponsors of this measure. May we recognize
Senator
Senator...
Isang seconding speech, pero galing po sa puso ang aking pasasalamat kay Attorney Bantog. Kalo ko po, ako na ang pinakamatagal dito or baka si Senate President, pero ikaw pa ay 1995. So nakita na niya ang hugis ng politika at ng Senado mula pa ng panahong yung ang maaabiso ko sa inyong retirement na hindi ko naman alam kung talagang magre-retire ay siguro isulat nyo lahat ng inside story ng Senado mula nung 1995, lalo na yung kaisa-isang pinakamatagal na rito, higit pa sa'yo, isa lang yan. Yung nakaupo sa taas nyo, nung 1992. Hindi ko po sinasabi na yung ipasa kahapon sa amendments na geriatric law ay para sa nakaupo sa harap nyo o sa akong nakatayo dito na 66 today o sa inyong magre-retiro na ayon kay Majority Leader ay bata pa kayo sa akin. Kaya alam kong hindi pa kayo magre-retiro. Salamat po. Seriously now. Thank you for guiding the Senate through how many Senate presidents and how many Congresses, seeing how many impeachment processes and all the difficult times in our national life. You've been our guiding post. You've been very dedicated Senate public servant. I know that there's much more that you can share with us as well. Thank you for the leadership that you've done for the more than thousands of Senate officers and staff. In behalf of one of the elders in the Senate mula noong 1998. Maraming salamat po, Attorney Bantog. At nagsisi ako, hindi ako tumatawag o nag-text ng Sabado-Linggo. Kala ko kasi nerd na ako. Mas nerd pa pala si Finance Chair Senator Sherwin. Nahihiya nga ako pag weekend, just a few times I would text or call you or beyond 8 p.m. I did not know he is much worse than me. But babawi po ako, pwede na pala ngayon the next few days man lang, pati weekend magtanong. Thank you very much.
Yes, and just for the record, I made a disclosure yesterday about not benefiting from the geriatric law. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, may we recognize our distinguished colleague, Senator Robin Hood Padilla.
Senator Robin Hood Padilla is recognized.
Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo, at sa ating pinunong mayorya. Ako po ay gusto ko lamang po magpasalamat ng buong puso at kaluluwa kay Secretary Bantog sapagkat sa hindi po kaalaman ng karamihan sa una po nating pagkikita sa opisina po ni Senator Drilon. Ito po yung panahon na inaayos po yung BARM, tungkol po sa BARM. At hindi po ako naharap ni Senator Drilon, pero ako po'y binigyan nyo ng kape, binigyan nyo po ng cookies. Ako po ay kinausap po ninyo. At hindi ko po makakalimutan kasi dahil nagkaroon din po kami ng hidwaan ni Senator Drilon. Pero kayo po yung nagpakita sa akin ng pagiging totoong tao. At nung ako po ay dumating dito at kayo po yung naupo dyan, natakot po ako. Sabi ko, nako, eto na yata. Wala na yata akong maipapasang batas. Pero sa panahon po ninyo, doon po ako nagkaroon ng napakaraming batas na napumasa. At katunayan po, kayo po ang lagi namin ginagambala ni Atty. Jurado sa mga bagay na hinihingi po namin ng advice. Kaya sa totoo lamang po, ang inyo pong serbisyo ay wala pong halong politika. Kayo po ang serbisyo po ninyo talagang para sa taong bayan. At kami pong lahat, lalo na po ako, ang una-una nyo pong natulungan. Kaya, Secretary Bantog, maraming salamat po. Hindi ko po makakalimutan ang ginawa nyo po sa akin. Maraming salamat.
Mr. President, may we recognize Senator Jingo Estrada.
Senator Jingo Estrada is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, please allow this representation to co-sponsor proposed Senate Resolution number 262, expressing highest commendation and gratitude to Senate Secretary Renato Bantug, Jr., for his unwavering service to the Philippine Senate. Secretary Bantug truly worked his way up through the ranks. For nearly 32 years working in the Senate, he started his career in 1995 as a supervising legislative staff officer in the office of former Senate President Franklin Drilon. Over the years, he took on more challenging roles, becoming legislative director in 2003, executive director for legislation from 2004 to 2022, and even serving as acting Senate legal counsel in 2010. He later served as Chief of Staff to the Senate President from 2013 to 2016, to the Senate President Pro Tem from 2016 to 2017, and to the Senate Minority Leader from 2017 to 2022. Today, he continues to serve as the Secretary of the Senate in the Philippines, a position he has held since 2022. In a world of shifting politics and leadership change, Secretary Bantug projects a steady and calm but committed presence and leadership. His experience, institutional memory, and technical expertise earned the trust of senators he served in various Congresses. 32 years in the government, particularly in the Senate, is truly a lifetime of service. Kinikilala ng buong Senado, kasama ng mga kawani nito, ang serbisyo mo, Secretary Bantug. Thank you, Secretary R&B, for your dedication and service to the Senate and to our nation. Thank you, Mr. President.
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, we recognize Senator Bam Aquino.
Senator Bam Aquino is recognized.
Yes, Mr. President, di rin po tayo prepared with a written speech pero nais ko lang pong mag-share din tungkol kay Attorney Ray. Pinag-usapan na po ang kanyang professionalism, pinag-usapan na po ang kanyang excellence, pinag-usapan na po ang kanyang kakayanan. Ang isa po sigurong hindi pa na pag-uusapan masyado yung kanyang kindness, no? Marami ho dito alam naman na matagal rin po tayong wala sa Senado, 6 na taon. At sa mga panahong yon, kapag may kailangan po dito sa Senado, may kailangan i-clarify, may kailangan pong asikasuhin, si Attorney Ray was there. Kahit wala na po tayo sa Senado sa taong 2019 to 2025, Attorney Ray's kindness was always there for myself and my staff. Kapag meron pong kailangan tulong, hindi po siya nag-aatubili na tumulong. He never hesitated to support all of us. And siguro po, as a testament today, masasabi ko po, Attorney Ray, I wish you all of the best in your new endeavors, in your next endeavors. At makakaasa kayo na yung tulong na binigay niyo po sa amin, ganun din po yung pagmamahal namin sa inyo. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Maraming salamat.
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, last but not the least is Senator Risa Ontiveros.
Senator Risa Ontiveros is recognized.
Salamat po, Mr. President. Secretary Bantug is a true professional, one whose dedication and integrity have earned the trust of generations of senators. As the keeper of the Senate's institutional memory, he embodies the continuity of this institution, preserving its traditions while guiding it steadily through moments of change. A master of the Senate rules, he applies them with wisdom, fairness, and quiet authority. Never for advantage, but always in the service of order, deliberation, and the dignity of the Senate. Nung minority senators po kami, nina Senator Frank, Senator Kiko, Senator Bam, at yung iba pa naming mga kasama noon, Sec. Ray helped guide the minority in principled opposition, cognizant of the rules and, at the same time, committed to the highest principles of justice for the country. Through his work, he has strengthened not only our proceedings, but the institution itself. Marami pong salamat sa iyo, Sec. Ray. Hindi ka namin malilimutan.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. With
Yes.
that, Mr.
Majority
President,
Leader.
and all members are made authors and co-authors of this measure, I move that we approve PS Resolution number 262 honoring and expressing our deepest commendations and gratitude to Secretary Renato N. Bantug Jr. for his outstanding work and service to the Senate of the Philippines. I so move. Mr.
Any objection? Chair hears none. PS Resolution 262 is approved.
May I ask for a minute suspension, Mr. President, to have a
Yes.
photo opportunity with our dear friend?
Yes, session suspended.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, also for adoption today, we have with us athletes from the ASEAN Para-Olympics, or Para-Games rather, Para-ASEAN Para-Games. So I move that we also consider proposed Senate Resolution number 263, taking consideration PS Resolution number 268 and 273. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, consideration of 268 and 273 is in order. The Secretary will read the title of the measure without prejudice into inserting into the records the content of the said resolution.
Resolution congratulating and commending the Philippine delegation to the 13th ASEAN Para Games for achieving the country's best ever medal haul and for bringing honor and pride to the Filipino people.
Majority Leader.
You want to sponsor first? While we're awaiting the principal sponsor, Mr. President, Senator Bongo, may we recognize a co-sponsor?
Yes, of course.
Okay. If I just ask for a minute suspension, Mr. President, to wait for the sponsor. I thought he was in the floor, but
Session suspended.
Mr. President, we once again recognize our distinguished colleague, Senator Christopher Lawrence Bongo, to deliver his sponsorship speech.
Senator Christopher Bongo is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Natawa si Senator JB, nakita niya si Congressman Yap sa likod. Akala niya siya na magsasalita. Anyway, ano yan? Mayaman yan, may mas mayaman yan, may pampaderma. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, a pleasant afternoon to all of you. As chairperson of the Committee on Sports, it is with great pride and honor that I sponsor this Senate resolution honoring the Philippine delegation who have competed and showed exemplary performance in the 13th ASEAN Para Games held in Thailand. Team Philippines delivered a commendable and inspiring performance, bolstered by an impressive haul of 45 gold medals. Our delegation proudly finished fourth overall, affirming the country's growing strength and competitiveness in para sports at the regional level. Kahit po na may karamdaman sila, kapansanan rather, it is our best finish ever in the multi-sporting event. Beyond the gold medals, the Philippine delegation also secured 37 silver medals and 52 bronze medals, bringing the total medal count to 134. This remarkable achievement reflects not only athletic excellence, but also the depth, resilience, and fighting spirit of para-athletes across various sporting disciplines. With that, I express my warm regards and sincere appreciation to the entire Philippine delegation who take part in the 13th edition of the ASEAN Para Games. With us today, it is our chess delegation, which is one of the sports that garnered the most medals in this competition, particularly chess master-elect Dari Bernardo emerged as the Philippines' most bemedaled athlete with 6 gold medals. But allow me to commend each and every one of you for exemplifying hard work and dedication, it is also worth noting that this year's delegation in the ASEAN Para Games was composed of 216 athletes, coaches, and officials, a clear testament to our nation's commitment to inclusive sports development and meaningful participation in international competitions. Their collective effort, sacrifice, and perseverance brought honor to the country and inspiration to millions of Filipinos. Ang karangalan at tagumpay na inyong dinala sa ating bansa ay mananatiling nakatatak sa kasaysayan ng Philippine sports. Naging simbolo kayo ng lakas at inspirasyon sa ating mga kababayan at patuloy na nagbibigay pag-asa sa gitna ng mga hamon at pagsubok. For my part, I filed Senate Bill 407, which aims to provide our athletes with the disability to be recognized on equal footing as other national athletes by ensuring that they receive fair and just incentives for their achievements. This amendment will further promote inclusivity and equality in the Philippine sports. We plan to sponsor this measure in plenary in the coming weeks at sana po'y masuportahan natin ito dahil ang daladala nilang karangalan sa ating bansa ay parehas naman po sa mga regular or elite athletes. Pinaghirapan rin po nila yan at hindi naman po nila kasalanan na yung iba sa kanila pinanganak na may kapansanan. I am beyond proud to have witnessed that our Filipino athletes are becoming more and more competitive in international sporting competitions as we are getting more consistent results. Since assuming the chairmanship of the Committee on Sports in 2019, we have seen the country secured its first ever gold medal at the Tokyo 2020 Games and followed it up with a twin gold victory at the 2000 Paris Olympics, achieving an unprecedented feat in the nation's sporting history. Dati po, kulela tayo, wala tayong ginto. Sa maalala ko, silver lang po ang pinakamataas na ating nakamit. Ngayon, meron na tayong ginto. First ever noong 2020 Tokyo Olympics. Patuloy din ang hosting natin ng prestigious international competitions tulad ngayon sa World Tennis Association Philippine Women's Open. We must further promote and support sports tourism to create jobs and investment, promote national pride, and position our country more visibly in the global stage. Unti-unti na pong nagbubunga ang mga pinagpaguran at pagsasakripisyo ng ating mga Pilipinong atleta sa kanilang iba't ibang larangan ng sports. Mr. President, esteemed colleagues, ako po'y nakakasiguro that our country will become a stronger contender in future competitions and we will be dubbed as a sports powerhouse in Asia. Basta magkaisa lang po ang ating mga Philippine Sports Commission, Philippine Olympic Committee, Philippine Paralympic Committee at ang private sector para sa kapakanan ng mga atleta. Pag nagsama-sama po ito, nagkasundo, nagtutulungan, malayo po ang mararating ng ating mga atleta. With the recent development po na meron na pong Supreme Court ruling with finality yung matatanggap ng sa National Sports Development Fund, sana po'y magamit itong pondo sa tama at masuportahan po ang ating mga atleta na hindi lang po sila umaasa sa Kongreso sa mga karagdagang pondo. Importante po, magtrabaho po ang ating Philippine Sports Commission, Philippine Olympic Committee, mga NSA. Dito nga kanina si former Commissioner Monico Puentebella. Parati po siya ang nagko-comment rin po na sa mga reklamo niya sa kanilang association. Sabi ko nga, pag nagsama-sama at nagtutulungan ang NSA at ang PSC, ang Philippine Olympic Committee, malayo pong mararating ng ating mga atleta. Iyon po ang dapat gawin. Ang ating mga atleta po ay dapat mag-compete lang po. Wala na silang dapat isipin. Suportado sila sa equipments, moral support, pagkain, at wala na silang dapat isipin pa tuwing competition just to focus on their competition. Our Filipino athletes have proven time and again of their undying devotion and even unified the country through sports, thus upholding the true spirit of patriotism. Win or lose, pusong Pinoy ang panalo. As your chairperson of the Committee on Sports, rest assured I will continue to pursue sports development programs and initiatives that will promote the welfare of our athletes to help restore our rightful place in the world of sports. At isang paraan rin po na ilayo natin ang mga kabataan sa masasamang bisyo, get into sports, stay away from drugs to keep us healthy and fit. Before I end, I wish also to convey the intention of Senator Pia Cayetano to co-author this resolution. Maraming salamat po, Mr. President, at mabuhay po ang ating mga atletang Pilipino. Mabuhay po ang ating mga para-athletes. Salamat po, Mr. President.
Mr. President, we recognize Senator Joel Villanueva.
Senator Joel Villanueva is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Majority Leader. Mr. President, esteemed colleagues, as the author of proposed Senate Resolution number 268, we stand in gratitude as we honor the Philippine para-athlete team for their exemplary performance at the 13th ASEAN Para Games held in Thailand from January 20 to 26, 2026. Mr. President, the ASEAN Para Games is more than just a sporting event. It is a testament to the excellence, discipline, and indomitable spirit of para-athletes across Southeast Asia. This year, our Filipino delegation has truly exemplified these values, delivering the country's best performance in the history of our participation in the Games. With a remarkable total of 134 medals, 45 golds, 37 silvers, and 52 bronzes, the Philippines has surpassed its previous best medal haul from the 2023 Games, marking a significant milestone for Philippine para-sports. Ginoong Pangulo, hindi lamang po ito usapin ng dami ng medalya. Ang ika-4 na pwesto ng Pilipinas sa overall medal standings ay ang pinakamataas na ranggo na ating nakamit mula nang magsimula tayong lumahok sa ASEAN Para Games noong 2001. Isa po rito ay nagpapakita ng malinaw at patuloy na pag-angat ng ating mga atleta at ng programa ng ating Sports Commission para sa ating para-sports ng ating bansa. Our athletes' exceptional performances across multiple disciplines have also showcased the depth and balance of their competitive edge. Athletics contributed 16 gold medals, swimming brought home 13 golds, and chess added 12 golds to our historic medal tally. Para po sa ating mga para-athletes, your journey to the ASEAN Para Games was not easy. We know that. And there were sacrifices, long hours of training, moments of doubt, and countless challenges. Yet, you pressed on. You chose perseverance over surrender, excellence over excuses, and service to country over personal comfort. Dahil po dito, hindi lamang po kayo mga kampyon sa palakasan. Kayo po ay mga ehemplo ng pag-asa para sa ating minamahal na bayan. Sa ating pong mga coaches, trainers, medical teams, families and supporters, the Philippine Sports Commission, and the Philippine Paralympic Committee, we salute you. And again, thank you for all your sacrifices. As a nation, we commit to continue supporting para-sports and all our athletes because when we invest in you, we invest in character, resilience, and national pride. Kaya sinusuportahan po natin ang ating komite ng sports dito sa Senado sa pangunguna ni Senator Bongo at sa mga kasamahan nating sumusuporta para po sa ating mga atleta. Muli, kami po ay bumabati at nagpapasalamat sa ating mga para-athletes. Maraming salamat po sa karangalang inyong iniuwi at sa inspirasyong inyong ibinibigay sa aming lahat. Higit po sa lahat, maraming salamat sa pagpapaalala sa atin na sa pagkakaisa, pananampalataya at pagsusumikap, walang imposible para sa mga Pilipino. Mabuhay ang ating mga para-athletes, mabuhay ang Pilipinas. Maraming salamat, Ginoong Pangulo, at pagpalain tayong lahat ng ating Panginoong Diyos.
Mr. President, we recognize Senator Robin Hood Padilla.
Senator Robin Padilla is recognized.
Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo, at sa ating pinunong mayorya. Una po sa lahat, nais ko pong bigyan pagpupugay ang atin pong chairman ng sports, Senator Bongo, sapagkat sa kanya pong patnubay, sa kanya po tayo nagkaroon ng napakadaming medalya sa sports. At siyempre po, tayo din po ay nagpupugay din kay Senator Pia Cayetano sa kanyang patnubay din po. Nasabi na po ang magagandang talumpati para bigyan ng parangal ang ating mga atleta, akin na lamang pong dadagdagan. Sana po, ang ipinakita ng ating mga para-athlete dito sa ASEAN Para Games ay maging inspirasyon sa ating mga Pilipino na ang kanila pong limitasyon ay maging inspirasyon nating lahat para tayo po ay manaig din at magtagumpay hindi lamang sa ASEAN, kung hindi sa buong mundo bilang mga Pilipino. Kung tayo po ay tunay na titindig na magkakasama at masasabi ko pong solid, ay hindi po imposible na makamit natin ang ginawang tagumpay ng ating mga para-athlete. Kayo po ang aming inspirasyon. Kayo po ang magbibigay ng tamang inspirasyon sa aming lahat. Na sa kabila po ng inyong limitasyon ay itinaas nyo po ang bandila ng Pilipinas sa isang matatawag po nating labanan ng utak, pisikal, at higit sa lahat, moral na labanan. Kaya po, tanggapin niyo po ang aking pagpupugay sa inyo. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, our distinguished colleagues, Senator Lapid and Senator Jingo Estrada, would like to just insert to the records their sponsorship speeches.
So inserted.
Therefore, with no member wishes to or amendments, I move that we adopt proposed Senate Resolution number 263, taking into consideration PS Resolution number 268 and 273. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing on. Proposed Senate Resolution 263, taking into consideration 268 and 273, is hereby approved.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. May I ask for a minute suspension?
Session suspended. Shoot. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. If our distinguished colleague, Senator Tulfo, is ready, Mr. President, for his amendment, I believe he has committee amendments that he wants to introduce into his bill. We'll just wait for the sponsor, Mr. President, and after which we can proceed with the other matters. I move that we take or reconsider or consider Senate Bill number 155 under Committee Report number 8, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, consideration of Senate Bill 155 under Committee Report Number 8 is in order. What is the parliamentary status, Mr. Majority Leader?
The parliamentary status is we're in the period of amendment, Mr. President.
Period of committee amendments.
Yes, may I ask for just a minute suspension to call the sponsor, Mr. President? Please.
Session
Oh,
is
sorry.
suspended.
Ito na pala. No, my apologies, Mr. President.
Ano siya?
He's there.
Session is it's resumed.
Thank you. May we recognize the distinguished colleague, Senator Erwin Tulfo. For
Senator Erwin Tulfo is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. The following are the committee amendments for committee amendments on SBN 155, Simplified Government Aid Access Act. Mr. President, the following are the committee amendments. On page 2, line 2, before the word "and," insert the phrase Philippine Charity Sweepstakes Office. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, amendments approved.
On page 2, line 2, between the words "and" PhilHealth, insert the phrase Philippine Health Insurance Corporation and enclose the acronym PhilHealth in parentheses. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
On page 2, line 5, on the subtitle of section 4, delete the word "minimum." I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
On page 2, line 15, after the word "worker," insert the phrase "or original or certified true copy of medical certificate or medical abstract with the date of issuance, complete name, signature, and license number of attending physician or death certificate issued by the hospital or by the city municipal health office, whichever is applicable." I so move, Mr. President.
Period. Any
Period.
objection? Hearing none, approved.
On page 22 or page 2, line 22, after the word "guardian," delete the punctuation mark period, and in lieu thereof, insert the punctuation mark colon. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Still on page 2, line 22, italize the word "provided" and capitalize the letter T in the word "that." I so move, Mr. President.
Yes, any objection? Hearing none, approved.
On page 2, line 29, after the word "act," insert the phrase "and in accordance with Republic Act number 11032, otherwise known as the Ease of Doing Business and Efficient Government Service Delivery Act of 2018. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, adopted.
On page 3, line 1, transpose the phrase "as amended" after the phrase also known as the Anti-Red Tape Act, and insert the phrase "by Republic Act number 11032, otherwise known as the Ease of Doing Business and Efficient Government Service Delivery Act of 2018. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? There being none, the amendments approved.
Still on page 3, line 6, delete the word "and figure 30," and in lieu thereof, insert the word "and figure 60. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, amendments approved.
On page 3, line 8, before the acronym DILG, insert the phrase Department of Interior and Local Government and enclose the acronym DILG in parentheses. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, adopted.
And on page 3, line 21 now, after the word "its," insert the word "complete." I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, amendments adopted, approved.
There are no further committee amendments, Mr. President.
Thank you. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. We move to close the period of committee amendments, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, period of committee amendments terminated.
Thank you, Mr. President. But we cannot close the period of amendments just yet, as some of our colleagues would like to propose amendments on Monday. So therefore,
the
we suspend.
parliamentary status, therefore, would be the period of individual amendments.
That's correct, Mr. President.
All right.
So I move to suspend consideration of the measure.
Hearing no objection, consideration of the measure is suspended.
Mr. President, we have a sponsorship. I may ask for for additional reference of business, Mr. President.
Additional reference of business, you may proceed, the
Committee
Secretary.
report. Committee report number 24, prepared and submitted jointly by the Committees on Banks, Financial Institutions and Currencies, and Justice and Human Rights on Senate Bill number 1728 with Senators Lacson, Zubiri, Escudero, Pangilinan, Estrada, Tulfo E. Villanueva, and Tulfo R. as authors thereof. An act expanding the scope of disclosure of bank and financial deposits, repealing for the purpose pertinent provisions of laws governing the secrecy of deposits, recommending its approval in substitution of Senate Bill numbers 38, 150, 232, 286, 397, 1047, 1364, 1433, and 1649, taking into consideration House Bill number 6707, sponsor Senator Villanueva.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
Mr. President, I move that we transfer from the calendar of ordinary business to special orders, Senate Bill number 1728 under Committee Report number 24. I so move, Mr. President.
Committee report. Any objection? Hearing none. Committee report number 24 is so transferred.
Mr. President, I move that we consider Senate Bill number 1728 under Committee Report number 24.
Any objection? Hearing none. Consideration of 1728 is in order.
Thank you. May we ask the Secretary to read the title, Mr.
Secretary
President?
will read the title of the measure.
An act expanding the scope of disclosure of bank and financial deposits, repealing for the purpose pertinent provisions of laws governing the secrecy of deposits.
Mr. President, I move that we recognize the sponsors, our distinguished colleague, Senator Joel Villanueva.
Senator Joel Villanueva is recognized. The
Thank you
sponsor
very
measure.
much, Mr. President. Thank you, Majority Leader. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, good afternoon. Today, this representation rise to sponsor a measure that seeks to modernize a legal framework that has remained virtually untouched for more than 7 decades. Yes, you heard it right, Mr. President. More than 70 years, Mr. President. A framework that has, for too long, hindered transparency, obstructed accountability, and weakened our capacity to fight corruption and financial crime. Mr. President, this representation has the honor to sponsor Senate Bill number 1728, also known as the Banking Reform for Integrity, Good Governance, Honesty, and Transparency, or the BRIGHT Act. For over 70 years, the Philippines has maintained one of the most restrictive bank secrecy regimes in the world. What was originally crafted to protect depositor confidence has over time evolved into a shield for impunity, a refuge for illicit wealth, and a serious obstacle to effective financial regulation. Under our existing statutes, primarily Republic Act number 1405 and RA 6426, the confidentiality of bank deposits is so strict, so absolute, that even our own regulators struggle to perform their mandates. Courts, investigators, the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, the Anti-Money Laundering Council, and even Congress itself, Mr. President, often find their hands tied by rules written in 1955. Mr. President, in a world where financial criminals operate with speed and sophistication, our laws still operate with a typewriter. Sa loob po ng mahigit 7 dekada, 70 taon po ito, Ginoong Pangulo, para sa marami nating mga kababayan, tila ba may dalawang magkaibang patakaran ang ating lipunan hinggil po sa usaping ito. Una, para sa karaniwang mamamayan, ang manggagawa, ang maliliit na negosyante na ang simpleng bank account ay pwedeng masilip ng BIR o AMLA kapag kinakailangan. At ikalawa, para sa mga makapangyarihan at tiwaling iilan na kayang magtago ng milyon-milyon, maging bilyon-bilyon pa nga, sa likod ng isang bank secrecy law na pinasapa noong 1955 ay nagsisilbing parang bakal na pader laban sa pananagutan. Mr. President, my esteemed colleagues, this bill, the BRIGHT Act, seeks to change that. Let us speak plainly. People know when something is unfair. They know when a law that is meant to protect the privacy of all of us is used instead to protect only the powerful few. May issue ng unexplained wealth ang isang tao. Hindi pwedeng tingnan ang account. Hindi pwedeng siya sa atin. Protektado ito sa ilalim ng batas. Our people see these excuses, Mr. President. They feel these barriers and consequently lose trust in our institutions. Can we blame them? Of course not. Confidentiality is important, yes. Pero ang tanong ng taong bayan ay simple lamang, Ginoong Pangulo. Dapat po bang gamitin ang batas para pagtakpan ang mali o takbuhan ang pananagutan? Sa napakatagal po na panahon, ang sagot po ay oo. Our outdated bank secrecy laws have made it easy to hide kickbacks, conceal bribes, stash government funds, move dirty money, and evade taxes, all without fear of being caught. This is why billions in public money remain unrecovered. This is why big-time tax evaders slip through the cracks. This is why our regulators struggle to protect the financial system. Mr. President, sa loob po ng mahigit 70 taon, nasanay na po tayo sa sistemang bulag, hindi dahil hindi natin kayang tingnan, kundi dahil ipinagbabawal tumingin ng mismong mga batas natin. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, we must also confront the reality of our standing in the international community. If you look at the records, Mr. President, in 2009, the G20 declared that the era of bank secrecy is over. In 2014, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, adopted global transparency standards that now govern the automatic exchange of financial information. Nearly every jurisdiction in our region, Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, Hong Kong, has modernized its bank transparency laws to comply with global norms. And yet, Mr. President, the Philippines, our beloved country, remains the only country in the whole world whose bank secrecy rules severely restrict even legitimate inquiries by our financial regulators. Bawat taon po na hindi natin ina-update ang ating bank secrecy laws, nilalagay din po natin ang ating bansa sa totoong panganib na muling malagay sa gray list ng Financial Action Task Force. At kapag nangyari po yan, Ginoong Pangulo, hindi lang po mga korap ang unang nagdurusa, kundi ang ordinaryong Pilipino. Ang mga OFWs na nagpapadala ng salapi sa kanilang pamilya na posibleng tumaas ang remittance fees. Ang mga small business owners na nag-a-apply ng loan na haharap sa mas mahigpit na scrutiny at mas mataas na compliance costs. At, Ginoong Pangulo, ang mga tapat na manggagawa, ang mga pamilyang nag-iipon para sa edukasyon o para sa emergency na siyang nagbabayad ng presyo ng reputation ng mga taong gumagamit ng secrecy para lamang po itago ang kanilang mga kasalanan. Let me emphasize, Mr. President, the cost of secrecy is paid by the people who are not hiding anything. Milyong-milyong Pilipino po ang umaasa sa isang matatag na banking financial system, isang mapagkakatiwalaang investment climate, at mababang remittance costs. Hindi po natin pwedeng hayaan na taon-taon na lamang ang mga luma at hindi na napapanahong batas ang maglalagay sa panganib sa mga lifeline na ito. The consequences at home are equally alarming, Mr. President. The Department of Finance estimates that our outdated secrecy regime results in billions of pesos in revenue losses annually due to untraceable tax evasion. The IMF, or International Monetary Fund, in its assessments to the Philippine financial sector, has repeatedly warned that our strict bank secrecy rules hamper effective supervision and may impair financial stability. Nakita na po natin, Ginoong Pangulo, kung paano ang mga yaman na nakuha sa iligal na paraan ay madali pong itago o naitatago sa likod ng sobrang higpit o ultra-strict na bank secrecy at confidentiality. At nakita na rin po natin kung paano naantala at minsan tuluyang nahihinto ang mga investigasyon dahil po sa mga batas na ang layunin po sana, Ginoong Pangulo, ay protektahan. Protektahan ang mga tapat at marangal na depositor na nagagamit din bilang kanlungan ng mga tiwaling opisyal, mga money launderer, mga nagpopondo ng illegal na droga, at mga mapagsamantalang mandaraya. Sa huli po, ang naagrabyado po rito ay hindi ang may kasalanan, kundi ang karaniwang manggagawa at pamilyang Pilipino na naniniwala sa patas at malinis na sistema. Mr. President, we cannot continue to allow secrecy to be weaponized against the Filipino people. This bill, Mr. President, the BRIGHT Act, proposes not wholesale disclosure, Mr. President, but measured transparency under very specific, legitimate circumstances. Deposits remain confidential as the general rule and may be examined only under conditions explicitly defined in the law. Among these legitimate purposes are investigations by the courts, inquiries by Congress, including impeachment proceedings, investigations conducted by the Office of the Ombudsman, supervisory examinations by the BSP, inquiries by AMLA, BIR, and specific financial regulators, lawful access for the settlement of estates of deceased depositors, and voluntary authorization by the depositor. Each request must follow clear procedures, subject to safeguards provided by the Act and consistent with the Data Privacy Act. With the passage of this measure, Mr. President, for the first time in 7 decades, the Filipino people will know when public officials live beyond their means. There is a way to find out, Mr. President. When billions of pesos disappear, they cannot hide behind secrecy. When corruption happens, investigations can move forward. When regulators need information to protect the economy, they can act, Mr. President. When crimes occur, they cannot be covered by confidentiality. Sinasabi po ng panukalang batas na ito sa sambayan ng Pilipino, wala pong exempted sa katapatan. Walang privilege sa katotohanan. Mr. President, we are mindful of the burden placed on banks and non-bank financial institutions. And kaya po sa BRIGHT Act, naglalagay po tayo ng probisyon for safe harbor for institutions that comply in good faith. At the same time, the bill imposes penalty on individuals who abuse their authority to access deposit information and those unjustifiably refuse to disclose information when required by law. For juridical entities, the responsible officers who directly participated in the violation will also be held liable, consistent with principles under AMLA and the revised Corporation Code. This ensures accountability, Mr. President, not only at the institutional level, but also at the personal level. Allow me to state categorically, Mr. President, when I was asked a while ago about addressing fears and misconceptions. This bill, Mr. President, does not grant unfettered access to anyone's bank account. This bill does not allow political fishing expeditions. This bill does not undermine the right to privacy. Legitimate privacy remains protected. What this bill removes is the blanket of secrecy that shields corruption and criminality. Mr. President, let this representation address our honest depositors, ang ating pong mga ordinaryong manggagawa, ang ating mga OFWs, ang ating mga small business owners, ang ating mga senior citizens at retirees with deposits. Your privacy remains protected. Your accounts remain confidential. Your rights remain intact. This bill protects you. It only exposes those who betray public trust. Mr. President, our failure to modernize our bank secrecy regime has long left us behind. We have fallen out of step with global expectations and regional standards, and we continue to tie the hands of the very institutions tasked with protecting the integrity of our financial system. Kaya natutuwa din po tayo, Ginoong Pangulo, na ito ay naging parte ng Legislative Development Council na maging priority measure ng ating administrasyon. The BRIGHT Act is not merely a compliance measure, Mr. President. It is a governance reform, an anti-corruption reform, and a national integrity reform. It is a step toward recovering stolen public funds, preventing money laundering, strengthening tax enforcement, empowering regulators, and building a trustworthy and resilient financial system. And so, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, transparency is not the enemy of progress. Secrecy is. The era when bank secrecy could be used to hide wrongdoing must come to an end. And with Bright Act, the Philippines can finally join the rest of the world in upholding modern standards of financial integrity. Mr. President, the acronym of this bill is BRIGHT because that is exactly what we want for our country and our people. A brighter financial system, a brighter justice system, a brighter future where corruption has no place to hide. Our bank secrecy laws have served their purpose, but today they serve the wrong people. It is time to amend them. It is time to modernize them. It is time to put integrity at the very center of our banking system. And so, Mr. President, esteemed colleagues, this representation respectfully seek your support for the immediate passage of the BRIGHT Act, a long overdue reform essential to strengthening transparency and integrity in our financial system. Para sa bayan, para sa katapatan, para sa isang mas maliwanag na hinaharap. Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo, at pagpalain tayong lahat ng ating Panginoong Diyos.
Majority Leader. Senator Francis Pangilinan is recognized to co-sponsor the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Majority Leader, distinguished colleagues. Unang-una sa lahat, nais kong batiin at i-congratulate ang ating kasamahan na si Senator Joel Villanueva sa pag-sponsor ng isang panukalang batas na long overdue. Gaya ng nabanggit niya, 1955 pa nung ito'y naging batas ang Secrecy of Bank Deposits Act. At ibang-iba na ang mundo sa ngayon. Nakatindig tayo ngayon, mga kasamahan natin sa Senado, para i-co-sponsor ang isang solusyon kontra korupsyon. Isang panukalang pahihirapan ang pagnanakaw sa kaban ng bayan at padadaliin ang paghuli sa mga magtatangka. Ang Banking Reform for Integrity, Good Governance, Honesty, and Transparency o BRIGHT Act. Mas madali na po mahuhuli ang mga salarin dahil pag naipasa ang batas na ito, mas madaling follow the money. Nilalayo ng panukalang ito na palawakin ang saklaw ng pagsisiwalat sa mga bank at financial deposits. Gusto rin nitong ipawalang bisa ang mga lumang probisyon ng Bank Secrecy Law. Sa loob ng 70 taon, halos ganap ang bank secrecy sa ating bansa. Makabuluhan ito noong isinabatas noong 1955. Ang layunin noon ay kumbinsihin ang mga kababayan natin na magtiwala sa mga bangko, na huwag mag-impok sa kanilang mga aparador, baul o lata o di kaya sa kawayan o kaya sa ilalim ng kama. May katuturan ito noon, hindi pa laganap ang pandaigdigang industriya ng money laundering at offshore loot. Pero wala na itong ibig sabihin ngayon. Sabi nga ng mga eksperto, naging pananggalang ang batas para tulungan ang katiwalian, ang tax evasion at iba pang mga krimen na may kinalaman sa pananalapi. Ngunit, kalakip dapat sa pagpasa natin sa panukalang batas na ito ang masusing lifestyle check upang mas madaling makikita o masusundan ang pera na maaring mahantong sa pagpapaliwanag din ng unexplained wealth. Kinakailangan ding paigtingin ang investigasyon at ang agarang pagsasampa ng mga kaso kasabay ng mga reformang magwawakas sa hindi katanggap-tanggap na kalagayan ng mga nakabingbing mga kaso na inaabot hindi lamang ng mga maraming taon, hindi lamang ng dekada, kung hindi ng maraming dekada. Hanggat nananatiling mabagal at hindi tiyak ang hustisya, nawawalan ng bisa ang deterrent effect ng batas at patuloy na lumalakas ang loob ng mga lumalabag dito. Mabuting pag-aralan kung may sasama ang mga nakatagong ari-arian katulad ng shell companies, ang ikangay paglalaban ng pera sa kasino at kahit na sa crypto, hindi pa rin magbabayad ang mesala. Dahil sa maraming anomalya sa gobyerno, sinasagot natin ang mga tanong ng mga legal na kasangkapan para ikanga ay, nabanggit ko kanina, masundan ang pera. Follow the money. Masundan at mabawi. Tulad ng mga pinakamalilinis na bansa sa mundo sa usapin ng katiwalian, Denmark, New Zealand, at ang kapitbansa nating Singapore, lahat sila pinapayagan ang mga regulator at mga otoridad sa buwis na bulatlatin ang mga nakatagong lihim sa mga bangko kapag hinihingi ng public interest. Mga kasama, hinihingi ko ang inyong suporta para sa Bright Act, isang napakatagal ng hinihinging upgrade, ika nga, ng isang kritikal na bahagi ng ating depensa kontra korupsyon, kontra tax evasion. Maraming salamat at we urge our colleagues to for swift passage, support for swift passage of this measure.
Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, my distinguished colleague, Senator Kiko Pangilinan. Mr. President, to allow our colleagues to study this measure further, I move to suspend consideration of the measure.
Any objection? Hearing none, consideration of the measure suspended.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, may we recognize our distinguished colleague, Senator from Tarlac and Pampanga, no other than Senator Rodante Marcoleta, to avail of the privilege hour.
Senator Dante Marcoleta is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise today to raise a constitutional alarm. We are witnessing an unusual situation in our bureaucracy today. At a time when local unrest and tumultuous global headwinds threaten the well-being of our kababayans, a growing number of crucial government agencies are being led not by duly confirmed cabinet secretaries, but by officials merely serving in an acting capacity. And this brings us to a disturbing reality in our bureaucracy today. Mr. President, what is at stake is not merely the reputation of individuals, but the integrity of our public institutions. As we speak, several key government agencies are being run by acting secretaries, officials who wield immense power, control billion-peso budgets, and approve critical infrastructure projects, yet have not undergone confirmation. These agencies include 1, Office of the Executive Secretary, Department of Finance, Department of Public Works and Highways, number 4, Department of Justice, number 5, Department of Budget and Management, 6, Department of Environment and Natural Resources, 7, Department of Transportation, and the last, the Presidential Communications Office. Hindi ito mga maliliit o mga basta-bastang ahensya, Mr. President. These are core institutions of our government. They control our money, they enforce our laws, they build our infrastructure, they defend sovereignty. They speak for the President and the Republic. They are alter egos of the President. Nevertheless, they are run by officials whose appointments or nominations have never been submitted to the Commission on Appointments for confirmation. Why does this matter, Mr. President? Because the Constitution did not leave this to discretion. Section 16, Article 7 of the 1987 Constitution provides, and I quote, "The President shall nominate and with the consent of the Commission on Appointments appoint the heads of the executive departments, ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls or officers of the armed forces from rank of colonel or naval captain, and other officers whose appointments are vested in him in this Constitution. The Constitution is very clear, Mr. President. It compels the President to nominate or appoint heads of executive departments, among others, and submit their appointments to the CA. The word shall makes it mandatory, not optional, restrictive, not permissive. Yet this constitutional command is being defied. Let me be precise, Mr. President. There is nothing inherently illegal about an acting secretary. The law allows it. The continuity of the government demands it, but what is dangerous is when acting becomes permanent by design. Our acting secretaries have been running major cabinet departments for months on end. Some for 2 or 4 months now, and one for over half a year. And up to this day, Mr. President, none of their appointment letters have been transmitted to the CA. Needless to say, the delay is not on the part of the CA. We cannot confirm what is never submitted. If Malacanang does not transmit the appointments, the Constitutional Commission is made powerless. Under the rules of the Civil Service Commission, enacting capacity entails not only the exercise of the ministerial functions attached to the position, but also the exercise of discretion, since the person designated is deemed to be incumbent of the position. They can issue policies, approve projects, sign contracts, and approve expenditure of public funds. They wield all the authority of permanent secretaries while evading constitutional scrutiny and consent. Mr. President, the Constitution envisions a system of checks and balances, not convenience and circumvention. The Commission on Appointments was precisely restored under the 1987 Constitution to prevent the danger of allowing key positions to be filled without scrutiny, accountability, or constitutional restraint. We need to ensure that those entrusted with immense power are fit, competent, and worthy of public trust. Thus, the rigorous deliberations conducted by the Commission, and when the executive repeatedly relies on acting appointments, it weakens that constitutional safeguard and sends the wrong signal to the bureaucracy. Why the key cabinet members allowed to exercise full powers of their offices while never being presented before the CA for scrutiny? There can be many reasons, Mr. President. But one fact cannot be denied. This allows the executive to effectively create de facto permanent secretaries. This turns temporary designations into a tool of permanent power. Unfortunately, this kind of circumvention is nothing new. This representation has also previously noted and brought into attention the non-confirmation of the chairperson and board members of the Basis Convention Development Authority, or BCDA, which is a direct defiance of Republic Act number 7227, or the law that created the BCDA. This, alongside the continuing non-submission of appointments or nominations of officials serving in acting capacity to the CA, clearly undermines the constitutional mandate imposed upon by the Constitution. If the President has confidence in these officials, their appointments should have been sent to the CA promptly. Let us not allow the Republic to be ruled by officials who hold power without constitutional legitimacy, Mr. President. Because when appointments are withheld, the constitutional safeguard is effectively destroyed. Make no mistake, this call fully respects the separation of powers. But even more than that, Mr. President, this affirms our constitutional duty to check and balance power so that no branch, no office, and no official stands above the law. Let us remember, when leadership is temporary, responsibility becomes temporary. And when responsibility is temporary, corruption finds room to grow. We must not allow that, Mr. President. The people deserve more than paperwork. The people deserve more than excuses. The people deserve leadership that is permanent, accountable, and answerable. Sa huli, malinaw ang panawagan ng sambayanang Pilipino. Hindi sapat ang pansamantalang pamumuno sa mga ensyang may hawak ng buhay, kabuhayan at kaligtasan ng ating mga mamamayan. Ang pananagutan ay hindi maaaring acting lamang. Dapat ito'y ganap, malinaw at matatag. Sapagkat sa likod ng bawat pansamantalang desisyon at iniiwasang pananagutan, naroroon ang sambayanang patuloy na nagdurusa tumihiling ng buong pananagutan mula sa kanilang pamahalaan. Maraming salamat po, Mr. President.
Majority Leader.
Maganda yan. Thank you very much, Mr. President. We'd like to congratulate Senator Rodante Marcoleta for very good points being made. Tama po yan, Mr. President. Yung under our rules in the Commission on Appointments, when a secretary appointee has been bypassed 3 times, then the Commission on Appointments must decide whether to accept him or reject him.
On the third time.
On the third time. However, maganda pong punto pinalabas po ni Senator Marcoleta, sila po in acting capacity. Wala po silang ad interim appointment coming from Malacanang. Therefore,
Yes.
there's nothing to act on. And
Well,
therefore,
let's place that on record so that the public is watching. When a presidential appointee is appointed into a cabinet position, when Congress is not in session, it is called an interim appointment.
yes.
When a cabinet position or person is appointed into the cabinet, when Congress is in session, it is only in an acting capacity.
Yes.
So it is correct, the point being raised by Senator Marcoleta. And I distinctly like to check how many years it was that Secretary Raul Gonzalez was Secretary of Justice for forever, but never submitted to the Commission on Appointments.
Yes,
Huh?
Mr. President.
Always ad interim.
And I think the crafters of the Constitution try to be sure about the checks and balances of government by having the person or these appointees go through the Commission on Appointments, Mr. President, to look at their background, to look at their fitness for the position. So,
Are there any interpellations,
maybe I recognize Senator...
Senator, the President Pro Temp, Senator Ping Lacson is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. If the distinguished gentleman from Pampanga and Tarlac will yield to maybe 1 or 2 questions.
Yes, Mr. President.
First, I'd like to associate myself, because this has been lingering for quite some time, and there's so many session breaks that I remember Secretary Dizon has been acting secretary, and during a lunch meeting with Secretary Recto, acting Secretary Recto, acting Executive Secretary, I even reminded him, sabi ko sa kanya, Ralph, mag-re-resume na yung session namin. Kailangan humingi na kayo ng ad interim appointment para ma-take up kayo ng Commission on Appointments. Pag inabot kayo ng session, resumption ng session, you will just be nominated and you cannot perform unless confirmed. So my question, Mr. President, is, in terms of authority and mandate, ano po ba ang difference ng full-time secretary and an acting secretary?
Mr. President, pareho lang po yung kanilang gawain, pareho lang ang kanilang pananagutan, ngunit ang pinag-uusapan po yung pagiging opisyal sana, hindi magiging temporary, hindi acting sana, para sa ganon ang kanilang gawain po sana ay palaging nakasalig po sa kagustuhan ng ating saligang batas. Kaya po nangangamba po ang representasyon na ito kung puro acting po, lalabas po silang overacting lahat pagdating ng araw, Mr. President.
In other words, a full-time secretary can perform some long-term policy planning and direction, while an acting secretary, since temporary, short-term lang yung kanyang policy.
May
Yes, Mr. President.
I interject? as far as I recall, an acting secretary may not appoint anyone in his cabinet. That's the way I recall it, and I don't think he is allowed to sign for a certain amount of budget or funds. That's why an ad interim appointment is important. That's how I recall it. I can stand corrected later on.
I think that is correct, Your Honor, Mr. President. There is some kind of limitation when a secretary has been appointed in an acting capacity. There are several conditions that attach to it, and sometimes he cannot perform some of the things that are within his jurisdiction.
That's why, Mr. President, I'm wondering why Malacanang has not issued ad interim appointments. Because as mentioned by the distinguished gentleman from Tarlac, marami to, DOTR, DPWH, Executive Secretary, Department of Environment and Natural Resources, Department of Budget and no, acting lang talaga si parang OIC lang si Yosek Toledo because career. Secretary of Finance, at least 7 PCO, at least 7 cabinet secretaries are in acting capacity. So I wonder why Malacanang, in spite of, I've reminded even Acting Secretary Vida during the last Blue Ribbon hearing. I approached him, you better remind Secretary Recto about our conversation that you should be given ad interim appointments because we'll be resuming session on Monday. I remember telling him that. And he said, yes, that's the reason why I'm leaving because I'm having a meeting with the acting executive secretary. But even then, wala rin po nangyari kasi nag-resume na tayo last Monday and no ad interim appointments were signed by the president. I wonder why this is the case, Mr. President. Do you have would like to venture a guess or you have an information?
Your guess is as good as mine, Mr. President. The
Anyway,
graver problem is the CA cannot even act on its constitutional duty because they cannot be confirmed even if the President would like it to be so because the CA cannot confirm a secretary who is in an acting capacity. CA can only confirm secretaries who are designated with an ad interim capacity. So we will be facing a dilemma, Mr. President, that whether Malacanang would submit their names, but these are all in acting capacity, I don't think the CA can act on them because they are not in ad
Being
interim
submitted,
capacity,
yes.
Mr. President.
Based on a Supreme Court decision, a cabinet official who is in an acting capacity may only serve for 1 year. There is a Supreme Court decision to that effect. And then what would happen would be circumvention if they are appointed again in an acting capacity and avoiding the Commission on Appointments. Now, may we know how many? I hate interpolating from the chair, no. But in as much as you are discussing it already, may we know how many cabinet officials are now in an acting capacity?
As I mentioned, Mr. President, at least 8.
What about the DENR?
Also, the DNR is included, Mr. President. I guess he will be the victim of the three-strike policy that the CA has
Because he was
already...
bypassed twice.
Nakadalawa na kasi, Mr. President.
Yes, so he was bypassed twice. The second bypass was in December. All right? Now, was he appointed after
No.
that?
He should have been appointed in ad interim capacity.
So what is
Before,
there is no secretary of the DNR right now. Is that correct? Senator Tulfo, with the permission of Senator Lacson and Senator Margoleta.
Yes, Mr. President, di po ba na dumana sa CA sila Secretary Lutilla, Secretary Ralph Recto? previous, pero so kailangan pang bumalik ulit sila sa CA dahil
Yes,
ibang agency
they were
na.
not approved, yet they were not rejected. They were merely bypassed. Therefore, they may be appointed again. I don't know if he was appointed. If he was appointed after December, then
what
it's
is
an
the
interim appointment.
What are the rules, Mr. President? So
Mr.
we have to clarify this.
Yeah, Mr. President, I think to clarify the point made by the good gentleman from Palawan in the Philippines is that they had already gone to the CA, but that was for their previous appointments. As I believe Secretary Lutilla was for Department of Energy, and Secretary
Ralph Recto.
Ralph Recto, yes, already got confirmed as Finance, but not yet as Executive Secretary. Secretary Vince Dizon was approved in DOTR, but not as the PWH Secretary. So that's the confusion. But if you are appointed to a new position, you have to come back. Precedents, I've
Yes.
seen it many times. They have to
Correct.
come back.
Correct. But in the case of Secretary Lotilla, if he was not appointed after December, he is not the Secretary of the ENR. And if he was, then ad interim appointment siya because we were on break.
Mr. President, must we inform the executive department regarding this matter? Baka sobrang dami pong ginagawa or busy, we have to inform them at least.
Well, the Senate is invited tomorrow because of the EDCOM presentation, which is a very historical thing. But I am told that there is a LEDAC meeting on Tuesday. Tuesday? Hindi pa. February 10, matagal pa yun. So we will try to bring it up tomorrow.
Thank you, Mr. President.
In fact, Mr. President, informally, I did that quite a few times. Whenever I would meet with Secretary Recto, Secretary Diso, nasaan yung ad interim appointment ninyo? Because we are now, the session, we are now in recess. And it's better that you be given ad interim appointments. Otherwise, yun nga, pag nag-resume ng session, nomination lang kayo. And you cannot perform or you cannot even take your oath unless confirmed by the Commission on Appointments. So anyway, I'm glad and we're thankful that the gentleman from Pampanga and Tarlac has brought up this matter. So all these things will be clarified during the committee hearing or hearings that may be conducted once the referral is made. So this is just in jest, Mr. President. This is one of the very few times that I'm in agreement with Senator Marcoleta. So thank you very much, Senator Marcoleta.
You're welcome, Your Honor. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you,
Yes,
Mr. President. Mr. President,
Majority Leader.
after discussing with many of our colleagues here, I move that the speech of the good gentleman, so that the committee can act on it and a certain committee can call the stakeholders to a meeting here in the Senate. Particularly, maybe we can have a friendly invitation sent to ES Recto and ask him during a committee hearing, why is there this delay? They may give a better
The
answer.
PLLO we should call the attention of the PLLO.
Yes, Mr. President.
Mr. President, if I may, I'm as
Senator
interested.
Villanueva.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm as interested as you are, Mr. President, when you made mention about a specific example in the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. So, are we saying, Mr. President, that there is no secretary now of the DENR?
Unless he was given an ad interim appointment because he was bypassed December.
Yeah, yes, Mr. President,
Therefore,
but there was no such transmittal
there
that
is
ever happened.
There is nothing. No. The bypass was in December.
Yes.
So if he was not appointed afterwards, then he is not the secretary of the ENR right now.
And everything that he is doing right now, if he is signing contracts, signing appointments, Mr. President, would be null and void, Mr. President?
Yes, that is not allowed. If he was not appointed, we don't know. I don't know for a fact.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President, for that clarification. Thank you.
Thank you. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that the speech and the discussions done on the floor, the speech of Senator Dante Marcoleta and their interpellations of our dear colleagues, be referred to the committees, two committees, Mr. President. the Blue Ribbon Committee as a primary committee, and the Committee on Constitutional Amendments, Mr. President. Because there's also constitutional questions that would arise with this discussion.
Huh?
So hopefully,
Consti, pwede.
yes, so that we can discuss also the constitutionality of this this acting capacity of our secretaries, Mr. President.
The issue is, the question is the interpretation of the provisions of the Constitution. Eh?
That's right.
Yeah, but this is not a constitutional amendment, but you would like the Constitutional Amendments Committee to tackle it?
Yes, so that we can find at least together with the Blue Ribbon, if they can come out with a
For
committee
the
report.
accountability, public accountability of,
and then they come up-
accountability of public officers, whether they are accountable or not for what
Yes.
they're doing. All right.
And then they can come out with a statement or a committee report basically laying out the Senate's sense of the Senate on that particular issue.
All right. Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is approved. So referred.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, before we take up admin matters, we'd like to just recognize with us in the gallery today the 10-time world champion for Jiu-Jitsu and MMA, Master Ralph Gracie is here with us, Mr. President. Sikat po yan sa martial arts community. Together with Jonathan Sandoval. We'd just like to recognize him.
What is
He's the 10-time world champion for Jiu-Jitsu and mixed martial arts.
Royce Gracie?
Ralph
Huh?
Gracie.
How is he related to Royce Gracie?
Your brother? It's cousin. His cousin. The cousin of
His cousin, yeah.
Royce Gracie.
I used to be a fan.
Yeah, that's the Gracie family, Mr. President, the world-renowned Gracie family from Brazil, Mr. President. So we'd like to welcome them in the Senate.
Welcome to the Senate. Thank you.
Mr. President, we have some admin matters. Pursuant to Rule 10, Section 18 of the Rules of the Senate, upon the instruction of the chairperson of the Committee on Public Services, I manifest the creation of the subcommittee amending the Electric Power Industry Reform Act, or the PIRA Act, lifeline rate, to hear and discuss Senate Bill number 63, with Senator Rodante Marcoleta as chairperson. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
Mr. President, upon the instructions of the chairperson of the Committee on Civil Service and Government Reorganization, I manifest the creation of the subcommittee amending Republic Act 7836, or the Philippine Teachers Professionalization Act of 1994, and to discuss Senate Bill numbers 52, 308, 547, 1191, and 1466, with Senator Sherwin Gatchalian as chairperson of the subcommittee. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, the manifestation is noted.
Mr. President, I move to change the primary committee referral of the following bills from the Committee on Rules to the Committee on Justice and Human Rights. Senate Bill number 1594, Senate Bill number 1595, Senate Bill number 1596, and Senate Bill number 1613. These are the granting Philippine citizenship to these four individuals, Mr. President.
Yes, this is primarily the question of Senator Pangilinan earlier.
Yes.
All right.
It appears, Mr. President, that
Yes.
they've been passed in the House and
Correct.
therefore can now be brought to the proper
Yes, that
committee.
is correct, the correct process,
Yes, Mr.
nevertheless. Anyway, any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
Mr. President, pursuant to Rule 10, Section 18 of the Rules of the Senate, and upon instruction of the chairperson of the committee, I manifest the creation of a subcommittee amending, I mentioned this already, Mr. President, the one of the bill of Senator, the subcommittee of Senator Marcoleta. Mr. President, we recognize Senator Robin Padilla for our manifestation.
Senator Robin Padilla is recognized.
Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo, at sa ating pinunong mayorya. Maiksi lamang po ito. Nais ko lamang pong tawagin ang pansin ng ating mga kasama patungkol po sa nangyaring sakuna. Isang kahindik-hindik na pangyayari po ang nangyari sa lugar ng pagitan po ng Zamboanga papuntang Sulu. Ito po ay nagkaroon ng paglubog ng isang pampasaherong ferry na MV Tricia Kirsten 3 na pag-aari po ito at pinamamahalaan ng Allison Shipping Lines. Meron po itong 332 na pasahero, 27 crew. Ang namatay po dito ay nasa 18. Kumpirmado po itong namatay. Hinihiling ko po sa ating mga kasama at gumawa po ako ng resolusyon na sana po ito ay maimbestigahan. Sapagkat ito po ay napakalungkot na balita para sa atin sapagkat tayo po ay bansang arkipelago. Ibig sabihin, ang atin pong karamihan ng kababayan ay umaasa po sa maritime transportation. Sumasakay po yan ng barko. At hindi naman po kaila sa ating lahat na lagi na lang po tayong may sakuna. Lagi na lang po tayong may ganitong pangyayari sa karagatan. At ang masakit po nito, meron pa pong sanggol na namatay dito. Kaya pa na, kaagad po itong maimbestigahan, maaksyonan ang resolusyon na ito, upang hindi na po tayo magkaroon pa ng mga ganitong ganap. Sapagkat kailan lamang po, meron na rin pong ganitong pangyayari sa shipping line din na ito. Parang hindi na po tayo natigil sa ganitong klaseng sakuna. Ang balita pa po, nung lumayag po itong barko na ito, hindi naman po masama ang panahon. Kaya sana po, hinihiling ko po sa inyo, at napakarami pong biktima dito ay tiga Sulu. Mga Muslim po, mga kapatid nyo pong Muslim, na umaasa po dito sa ganitong klaseng transportation, eh sana po Ginoong Pangulo ay mabigyang kaagad ng mabilis na investigasyon upang malaman po natin kung ano po ang naganap talaga. Ito po ba ay may problema sa edad ng barko? Ito po ba ay talagang barko, itong barko na ito ay meron talaga siyang kakayahan na lumayag sa karagatan? At sana po, sa pamamagitan po ng pagdinig nito ay magkaroon po ng batas. Kung ano po ba talaga. Kasi madalas po nauuwi yan sa usapan ng ayusin na lang natin. Huwag na natin itong paabutin sa korte. Magkano ba? Kailangan po tayong magkaroon talaga ng batas na talaga para magkaroon po ng pananagutan itong mga shipping lines na ito. Hindi po sa usapin ng lagi na lang areglo, pero lagi na naman pong mauulit. Ang gusto po natin ay wag na po sanang maulit ito. Yun lamang po. Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo.
Thank you, Senator Padilla. Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I move that the speech of the distinguished gentleman, and I join the good gentleman on his concerns, particularly doon nangyari sa Basilan. Marami po tayong kapatid na Muslim na namatay doon at kababayan. And we need to see the systems, the setups in these inter-island ferries para hindi po mangyari muli itong 2 beses na po nangyari. Although I know it is habagat, if I'm not mistaken, or maalon talaga na yun. Pero if that's the case, then the Coast Guard should not let these ships ply the routes. Pagka ganun, Mr. President. So I support the speech of this distinguished gentleman from the Republic of the Philippines, Senator Robin Hood Padilla. And therefore, I move that it be referred to the Committee on Public Services, Mr. President, for immediate action.
So referred.
Thank you, Mr. President. With that, Mr. President, I move that we adjourn session until 3 o'clock the afternoon, Monday, February 2, 2026. Have a good weekend, Mr. President.
Yeah. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the session is adjourned until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Monday, February 2, 2026.
Thank you, Mr. President.